Auburn, South Carolina, SEC championship game. And Marco, you've got your best bet video of the week on this game. You're 9-4 on these this year. So who do you like and why?
Well, I like this game over the total. I think both teams are going to go up and down the field, and I'll explain all of the reasons why. But the big factor last week, that game, the way Auburn came back and won, it was not the way you would expect it. You know, we know Auburn's got a great offense, but their defense has been their Achilles heel all season. It was their defense that won the game last week, holding Alabama to 3 points over the final 2.5 quarters.
So was that a fluke, or is there something fundamentally different about this Auburn D?
This is a situation that I think it was a fluke, and I think that they played at such a great level, high performance last week, that it's almost going to be like we dodged the bullet that we had to. Because most people thought if they were going to lose one of their 2 remaining games, it was last week's game, not this week.
Well, they were underdogs.
Right.
I loved Alabama.
I loved Alabama too.
I was feeling pretty smart in the second quarter.
Actually, I did the cardinal sin whenever I watched that game and say, why didn't I make this a triple dime play? You know, we all do it, you know, as cappers and bettors, but it was a phenomenal performance by the defense. And we got some news this week on Cam Newton you might want to share here.
Well, yeah, we're taping on Wednesday, so everyone probably knows already. He's been cleared individually. That seems to take a psychic weight off of not only him but this team. How do you attribute that within the handicap?
Well, I think it's another reason why I like the over, because he can now play without the questions, without, you know, the media sticking a microphone in his face all the time.
You think improved performance from Newton?
From him. And then on the flip side, you know, everybody was worried about, okay, what happens if we lose Cam Newton? And maybe that's why the defense came and saved the day last week. They finally rose to the occasion. Now it's almost like...
Wait a minute. They didn't think they were going to lose him in the middle of the game, did they?
Well, no, not in the middle of the game. But
they were going to go pull him off the field?
No, but they just knew that if it happened, they were going to have to rise to the occasion. And, you know, now this defense, they can get back to what they do best, and that is watch people go by them.
All right. So what I'm hearing so far is people saw the defense play well, especially in the second half. They're going to overreact to that. And I'm also hearing that Cam Newton being cleared is going to improve his performance. What are the reasons?
Well, the other reason is South Carolina. And I will admit right here, you know, we don't hide games. One bad play I had last week, I went against South Carolina.
That's the only bad play you had?
It was the bad handicap I had. Yeah, we were there. I lost Alabama last week, but I don't think that was a bad play. We were, you know, anytime you're up 21-0 playing at home, you look pretty good. But I thought South Carolina would mail last week's game in. They had absolutely nothing to play for last week. They were locked into this game no matter what they did last week, and I felt Steve Spurrier would go through the motions, not show anything special on offense, go vanilla, because you didn't want to give Auburn something new to look at on film this week, and you wouldn't risk injuries. You know, this is the game that matters.
Well, let's talk about this vanilla, because early in the year we talk about that a lot. We say that when a team like Ohio State is playing against a Bowling Green, that they will be very vanilla because they don't want to give away all the stuff they worked on during the preseason, during training camp and everything. But how can you go vanilla in the next to last game of the year? I totally understand you're not going to break out any new trick plays, that if you have some special 2-point conversion or something, you might you might hold that back. But other than not unleashing trick plays or whatever, or doing something brand new that you haven't done the first 10 games of the year, they got 10 games of tape on them. They're not going to revert back to the early season.
That's what I actually mean by going vanilla, not showing anything new.
So yeah, all right. So not be creative.
Right.
Which is a detriment because creativity is good.
Right.
All right, go ahead. I'm sorry.
And the situation, I thought it was a great spot for Clemson. You know, it's a rivalry game. They got beat by South Carolina last year.
All right, so you were wrong. What does that tell you about South Carolina?
Well, South Carolina, when you look at their last 3 games, and that's what people are going to look at because they're rolling into this game on a nice 3-game streak, the teams that they've played and manhandled, none of them have a good offense. So South Carolina looks better defensively right now than they really are. South Carolina has had trouble all year against good passing teams. And although
Is Auburn a good passing team?
Auburn can pass the ball when they need to. Cam Newton has shown that ability, but this is a fully dimensional. There's not, a one-dimension offense. The running game gets the passing game going, and I just don't see South Carolina being able to trade points with this team, and it's going to get out of hand, which is then going to force South Carolina to throw more and keep the over going with turnovers or actually getting 7 points.
So you're saying if one team, Auburn most likely, gets ahead by 14-17, that's good for your over?
That's good for my over here.
Okay. So let me ask you this. How do you handicap this game differently if Auburn had won the game easily last week? Let's say they just come into Alabama, they get up by 7, maybe it gets tied, but at no point does Auburn feel like they're out of it, and then they win the game. Versus being down 24 on the road against a seemingly superior team. At that point, what were the odds of them winning that game? It was less than 5%, right? So to go from 95+% that your dream is over to rallying back and then winning at the end, that I think it could create like a team of destiny effect with Auburn. How do you account for that in your handicap?
Well, to me, the way that they ended up pulling out that win and getting the win, psychologically, I think this team does believe now that they are the team of destiny, that this is meant to be the magical season. And I think that's another point where that defense, again, if you lack intensity, if you think, you dodged the bullet that everybody thought was going to be the toughest one to dodge, now it's yours. You're going to be in the national championship.
Being a team of destiny makes you try harder. Doesn't make you think, well, we got this thing locked up.
I think.
I mean, don't you think they're going to hit the ground running? And I'm not saying I disagree with your total. I'm just saying I don't think, and that's what I think we got to do so hard on this show, Marco, is I think that every factor of a handicap doesn't have to back your play. You might say, if they weren't a team of destiny, I'd like this over even more.
I'll change my word on the team of destiny. I think that this team is going to believe that they're there now, that they could,
So you think they're going to take it down or not? Instead of like, let's keep this thing running, it's like, hey, we've done it.
I think they believe that you've heard this before, like when we get to the AFC or NFC championship games, a lot of times the announcers will say, this is the Super Bowl, instead of the next week when the two teams, the two powerhouses play, and it's almost like the next game is, even though it's for the Super Bowl, it's down a notch. I think that's what you're going to have here, and I think it's going to show up more on the defensive side of the ball for Auburn.
All right, give us your projection.
I've got this game as a total shootout, 41-34 Auburn.
All right. I'm going to make one last point, and it's your best bet, 9 out of 13. I'm not betting against you on this one.
That's be wise, sir.
Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to tease this for the next, we actually have Nebraska at Oklahoma. I'm going to talk about how you handicap neutral field, which is different than home or away. And these are two neutral field games. We got the Auburn, South Carolina, and then Nebraska, Oklahoma. So let's do that there. You can continue the conversation about this game with Marco and me in the comments section. And next up, we're going to be talking Nebraska, Oklahoma, and we're also going to be talking about neutral field handicapping in that game.